So we are carrying on looking at the names of Yahweh. Today we've got Yahweh Rohi or Jehovah Rohi, which is a lovely non-controversial one, which I was really pleased about, which is the Lord is my shepherd. So just a quick recap on what we've had already. We've had Yahweh, I am who I am, and Yahweh, the Lord, compassionate and gracious. Yahweh Rapha, the Lord who heals. Yahweh Jireh, the Lord who provides. Yahweh Sabaoth, the Lord of hosts, and then Yahweh Rohi, the Lord is my shepherd. So I, first off, thought it'd be a good idea to find out what Rohi meant if I was going to talk about it for 20 minutes. So I had a look, and it's actually a Hebrew word that came from the word to feed, which then got associated with shepherds feeding their flocks. So I did ask my husband for his very good Hebrew knowledge, which was helpful to back up that I was actually telling you the truth. So it's been validated. I'm coming from a place of knowledge here. And then I was thinking about shepherds and sheep, and I had a lovely little video I wanted to show you that's not working, but hopefully it's one that's done the rounds now for a few years, so maybe you've seen it, but if not, I'll just give you a quick description. This sheep that you can just see there is stuck in a ditch, and this guy manages to pull it out, and this sheep is delighted, and it leaps straight back into the ditch. I really relate to that sheep on many, many levels. God is pulling me out of a ditch and I'm jumping straight back in. So it kind of gives you an indication of why sheep needs shepherds. I'll let you read into that one yourself. So then I had a look and I thought, let's have a look at the biblical context. Where do we find Yahweh Rohi in the Bible? And it's quite a few places. So the earliest one I found was in Genesis, but it's also in Psalm 23, probably one of the most famous ones, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, John 10. But then I was looking at what are we thinking about today about the name of God? What does God want me to share with you? So I focused just on Psalm 23 and John 10 for today. But if you did really want to have a look up, those are the other places it's found. So do check it out. That's where it is across the Bible. So Psalm 23, quite famous. Anybody know it by heart? Yeah, a few of you. Anyone want to come up here and read it out? Didn't think so. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful psalm. And again, I wanted to look at the context of that because quite a lot of us will know the words, but not necessarily where they come from or why they were written. So first off, we've got that it was written by David. So David was a shepherd. God loves shepherds, by the way. They are all over the Bible. Absolutely loves them. And it's great. And I think that the fact that it was written by a shepherd gives you a really good context that it's someone who knows what they're talking about. When he's talking about the Lord is my shepherd, he knows what a shepherd is. If it was me, the Lord is my legal assistant. I know what I'm talking about in that instance, but David knew what shepherds were about. So when was this written? David was currently fleeing for his life because his half-son, Absalom, was angry with him and had raised up a coup. And you can read the full story. It's in 2 Samuel 15. It is juicier than EastEnders. There was a lot of family drama going on here. There's a lot going on, but he is literally hiding and running for his life. So he's not in the most pleasant of scenarios. It's not somewhere that I particularly want to be when he writes this psalm. And then I started thinking about why did he write this psalm? Now, the first two questions I've asked got historical context. I've looked up. I found out the literal historical reasons. This bit is just my speculation, so I'm hoping you'll go with me on it and that you'll probably agree with what I'm saying. But I think the reason that David's written this is because he is in a situation where he could do with a shepherd. He's in a situation where he's feeling lost, he's feeling alone, and he wants someone to guide him. When he was a shepherd, he knew what he needed to do to look after his sheep. He knew the commitment it took. He knew the responsibility it took. When we look at the David and Goliath story, he talks about fighting off wolves, fighting off lions, fighting off wild animals to protect his flock. So he knew it wasn't just a 9-to-5 job where you don't get your hands dirty. And right now he's in a really, really difficult situation. And what he's seeing from God, or maybe what he's asking of God, if he doesn't necessarily feel it right now, is to be his shepherd in this situation. So I was thinking the more we learn about God's name, the more we know about him, the better. But knowledge is not useful unless you apply it. So we've got revelation, not the book, we're not covering that today, don't worry, and application, what we do with that knowledge. It's great to have it in your head, but until you apply it to your heart, it's not going to make any difference to you. So, first revelation we've got the shepherd provides for the sheep. Verses 1 to 3 say, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He lies me down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters." So this is describing a shepherd who really cares about their flock, cares about their needs, cares about their wants, and it's really personal as well. The Lord is my shepherd, not the Lord is a shepherd. He's mine, he knows me, I know him. And maybe that's what David wanted in this moment. When he's running for his life, he wants a pasture to lie down in. He wants still waters. The Message has a lovely version of it. "You have bedded me down in lush meadows. You find me in quiet pools to drink from." So I was thinking for me, it would be a comfy bed and a cup of tea after a long day. But ultimately, what I think David is highlighting here is that my shepherd knows my needs. A shepherd would have had lots of sheep. He would have known which ones are the fussy eaters, which ones are a bit slow, which ones are the sociable ones, and he would have known all of their needs. And I believe that David's telling us God knows that about us too. He knows our personal circumstances and our quirks. And he provides for that. So when Andy spoke about Yahweh Jireh, he spoke a lot about how the Lord provides in each situation. And there's a lot to believe in that, but sometimes, depending on your situation, you might not feel it. So that's where this application comes in, that we don't need to be afraid. The sheep do not fear, they don't worry. It's one of the most repeated commands. I think it's, in fact, the most repeated command in the Bible. It's in there 365 times, so you can remember it every single day of the year. But it's definitely a step of faith to not fear and not worry and believe that the Lord is providing. So on verses 3 and 4, we've got, "He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Our revelation here is the shepherd is taking the lead. He's guiding his flock. In biblical times, the shepherd leads from the front. It's not what you might imagine today, where the shepherd is at the back. They've got a stick, they've got a dog, and they're guiding them from the back. The shepherd goes first. He calls the sheep on. So that means, one, they've got to know where they're going, and two, they're going to be the first one to step on that rock, to step on the path, to go through and lead the way. That means if they're going into a scary situation, they're going first. They're not pushing you and go and find out if that's dangerous for me, and if it's all right, I'll come next. The shepherd is leading from the front. He's asking you to follow him, knowing that he is making the way forwards. They also have to know where they're going. A bad shepherd might be content to leave their sheep in a dangerous situation because it's easier than making the hard journey. A good shepherd will take them to where they need to be. And that's great for us as sheep. We can relax a bit. We've got the shepherd going first, unless you're like me, a bit of a Monica Geller type A control freak, and you like to know what's going on. And you don't want to be just leaving it up to whoever's in charge. You want to be making your own suggestions. You want to give it up to God, but give it back to me when you've not done it right, because I've got an idea of how to fix this situation. But actually, it can be quite a relaxing position to be in. If you've ever been on a road trip and you're not the driver or the navigator, you're one in the back having a nap, that's where we are as sheep. We get to just chill out and let the shepherd take the lead, but only if you let him. I can't imagine how frustrating it would be for a shepherd if his sheep kept trying to take the lead. He'd have to keep calling them back. He'd have to keep going, no, I know what I'm doing. Just trust me on this. Am I talking too fast, by the way, because I'm nervous? Am I okay? We're good? Okay, great. Whew. So really cool story. We recently visited Norway, my husband and I, and we were on a fjord cruise, and it was gorgeous. As we're halfway up, there's some goats on this teeny tiny patch of grass. And the tour guide said, there's so little grass in Norway that when somebody finds some, they will utilize it, even if it is far out the way and it is on the tiniest patch. They will take their goats or their sheep or whatever they've got there because it's what they need. And I just had this beautiful image of the first time these goats getting on the ship. They're not seafaring animals, let's not lie. Getting on this boat to try and go to this bit of grass. And they had to trust that their shepherd was taking them to the right place. The first time you've ever had to get a rail replacement bus? What's going on with that? No, I've got a train ticket, why are you putting me on a bus? I think it would have been similar for these goats, that they didn't really know what was happening, but then they recognized that the shepherd took them to the right place. And so they did it again the next time, and again the next time. And I think it does get easier the more we choose to give up our control and surrender and follow God. And we see it work out and we remember, oh yeah, God came through last time. I'll get back on the boat. I'll go the weird way because I know that God's taken me to the right place. So in verse 5, we hear that he prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil and my cup overflows. I think this is David saying that the shepherd is faithful in all circumstances. And like I said, he's in pretty bad circumstances right now. Shepherds would have been staying awake overnight. They would have been keeping an eye out for danger. It wasn't, like I said, a 9-to-5 job. But not only is God with us in the mess, he's preparing a table for us. He's blessing us. Every circumstance that we're in, God is pouring out blessings on us. It's not that he reserves them for the good times, and it's not that you only get them when you need them. The sheep are blessed in all circumstances. I've never been in a situation where I've literally had to run for my life from my son, who doesn't exist, or somebody else that's made me feel like I haven't been safe because of people attacking me. David was in this situation and he said, you prepare a table for me, you provide for my needs, and you bless me. I'm going to talk about Jesus for a bit. Thought that was probably a good idea. He's pretty much the reason we're all here, I hope. So we're going to go to the New Testament. We're going to look at John 10. So John 10:11, very famous. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. And then a bit later on in verse 16, I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. Okay, so again, a bit more context. Who is talking here? This is Jesus speaking. If you've got a hard copy Bible or on the phone, it might be in red because it's Jesus' words. Helpful for us to recognize that. When is he saying this? So he's talking to the Pharisees, and these guys love to trip him up. He's literally healed a blind man, and they're mad about it. I understand that. But they're trying to trip him up. They're angry, and so they're questioning him and arguing with him. Now again, on to why. A bit more speculation, but hoping you agree with me on this one. Jesus is trying to talk to the Pharisees about who he is. He says that he is the good shepherd. It's an I am statement. Yahweh, I am. Rohi, the good shepherd. I don't think it's a big leap to say that he's not blaspheming, he is saying his divine identity. He's linking himself to that Old Testament name of God. And then the next sentence, the good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The prophetic of what's going to happen to him. So again, we're going to have a look at the revelation of this and the application of this. So the shepherd lays down his life, and the sheep receive eternal life. John 15:13 says, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. It is the greatest love. It's not selfish, it's not fleeting, it's not conditional, it's the greatest love. And because of his love, we get the eternal life. So we're going to do communion in a bit, and I would love for you to take that time to reflect. If you've ever felt like you're not worth anything, just go deeper into this good shepherd giving up his life because you are so worth it. Jesus also talks about the shepherd bringing his sheep into his flock. So we have to listen to his voice. Sheep naturally follow. That's quite a common thing to know about sheep. They might need a bit of encouragement. They might need to follow one another. But actually, one of the best ways you could bring sheep into our flock is by being a good example of what it looks like to follow Jesus. There is so much chaos in the world. There is so much uncomfortableness. There's so many difficult situations. When we are living out peace in those situations, I think that's attractive. I think that's something that other people are going to want. So even not talking to somebody about Jesus, but showing that you have peace, that you are not afraid, that you're not worrying, that you are blessed in all circumstances, when we live that out, when we believe that and we show that, it's going to make other people want to come into that flock. There are a lot of people promising peace or answers from other ways. The amount of conversations I have with people who say, oh yeah, I went to a psychic last week for this. Why? And you sort of got to bite your tongue, or, oh, I'm a Libra, are you a Libra? It's like, no. Anyway, that's beside my point, and I'm not going to go off tangent. But when we have the answer, rather than trying to win people round, by the way, Jesus didn't do a lot of winning people round. He asked a lot of questions. When we see them answering the Pharisees, he tends to just ask them a question back. He gets them to think about it. When we are doing the same thing, when we're asking questions or we're giving a good example, that's going to be more convincing than trying to force people to your point of view. I'll come back to that a bit later. Oh yeah, another cool story about these Norwegian goats. So, when we got closer to them, they tried to jump on to the boat. Absolutely logical. It was raining, it was miserable, it was windy, and they wanted to go home. And I totally get that. We had coffee, we had waffles, it was great. But I started thinking about what would have happened if we'd let them on. They would have been quite happy for a few minutes, probably enjoyed a bit of the ride, and then at the end of the day, they would have been stuck. And when their shepherds showed up to collect them, they wouldn't be there, they wouldn't know how to get home, and actually that temporary solution wasn't really going to help them in the long run. And maybe you're in a situation where, yeah, your needs are being met, your shepherd's found you a lovely pasture, but it's raining, and you don't want to stay out anymore. And then this boat comes along, another shepherd, another voice comes along going, well, just come this way and I'll sort you out for a few minutes. And it can be really, really tempting. And I'm not saying this as somebody who wouldn't necessarily take that option, because I have 100% gone for the easy route sometimes. But ultimately, once the joy of that moment has run out, your needs aren't being met anymore. You're stuck. And thankfully for us, our good shepherd says he comes to find all of our sheep. All of the sheep matter to him. He never leaves one behind. And that brings me nicely onto my next point. It's almost like I planned this. The shepherd never leaves a sheep behind. The parable of the lost sheep is one of the most famous, I think. The shepherd goes out to find the one because the one is just as important to him as every other sheep. I think that talks about the sheep having a good community as well. If we want to be like Jesus, we need to make sure that each sheep matters to us too. Sheep like to flock together, they live together, they're in a good community. And so making sure that we're watching out for all of our flock is really, really important. Just a reminder at this point, has anyone seen Finding Nemo? Fish are friends, not food. Yeah. We are sheep, not shepherd. Okay? And what I mean by that is, as much as I want you to try and encourage sheep to flock with us, you are not becoming the shepherd to do it. The Bible doesn't say, win them round at any cost and then gloat about it. It talks about us encouraging people to listen to the shepherd's voice. It talks about us journeying with them. And I tell you what, there have been a number of times where I've journeyed with somebody, listened to God's voice, and realized I was the one not hearing right. But until I started to listen with them, I didn't know that. I had a lovely, lovely chat with Paul Stevens a couple of years ago, and he gave me some advice that really stuck with me. He said, if we're all listening to the voice, if we're all listening to the same truth, we will all end up going in the same direction. And it was mind-blowingly obvious. But he's right. As long as we're all trying to listen to the shepherd's voice, we're going to end up naturally in the same direction. Unless, of course, you choose to go the other way, but that's on you. God gave us free choice. He gave us free will. Don't take that away from somebody, but help them to hear and make that choice. I think chances are, if you do journey with someone who's going off in the wrong direction, one or both of you will end up closer to the shepherd by spending more time listening to his voice. I just wanted to finish off with one little bit, a little analogy that I heard that I thought was quite interesting. In Italy, they still have the shepherd leading from the front, like they would do in biblical times, but they also have one slightly different thing that they do, which I think is gorgeous. When they get a sheepdog puppy, they bring it up with the lambs, so it grows up in a litter of lambs together. And the sheepdog and the lambs just think of each other as all the same, which is so sweet. But it also means that when the dog learns to come when it's called, like you would do with a normal dog, all the lambs start to follow it because they're flocked animals and they naturally will follow one after the other. It just really reminded me of somebody coming and joining in with a group that wasn't necessarily theirs and going, I know the way, I can listen to the shepherd, just follow me, I'm going in the right direction. And I thought it's beautiful. When we're following Jesus, we're always going to be going towards the shepherd. That's what he tells us. So I've got a few questions to just reflect on. Feel free to completely ignore them and reflect on your own stuff, but it was just helpful for me as I was thinking about it. So how do you connect to God as your shepherd? Is it personal? Do you feel you can say, the Lord is my shepherd? Or is it the Lord is a shepherd? And do you spend time learning to recognize and follow God's voice? There are so many voices calling out to us. Everybody wants your attention. You're quite precious. In fact, you're very precious. And people who can listen to God's voice and discern it are going to be going in the right direction. Do you care about the flock that God's placed you in? Are you prepared to challenge someone when you see them going the wrong way? It's not a nice feeling to be challenged sometimes, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. And doing it in love is the best thing you can do. And are you willing to listen with others to discern God's voice? Are you willing to say, do you know what, I'll challenge you, but we'll go through it together, because I might be wrong, but let's find out and let's journey together, because we're part of a flock. Hopefully, you will have a deeper understanding of Yahweh Rohi, and it won't just be the knowledge, but it will be the heart application as well. And as I say, as we go into the time of communion, I would really encourage you to spend that time with God. Ask him what it means for him to be your shepherd. What does that look like to you? It's going to look different to me as it does to you. But build that deep personal relationship that David had when he wrote that psalm, when things were not good, but he trusted in Jesus. He trusted in his God. The God that's willing to lay down his life for his sheep, because you are worth that much.